Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel and to another long-awaited edition of Eddie versus the Algorithm, a series where every week I try and take on the computer, the Fantasy Football Fix team, to see if I can produce the better dream team for that specific game week. But without further ado, before we get into game week 4 and the team selection for that, let's have a quick recap of what went down in game week 3, as it was quite an eventful one and we did have quite a few different players in our team compared to the algorithms, and I'm delighted to say that we did quite well. In terms of in goal, we had GW3 did very well. 6 points, bagged a clean sheet, is what we wanted him to do. The algorithm obviously had Reguilon in defence, so we kind of covered that with Spurs. Lloris in goal, obviously they had a fantastic fixture anyway. Did manage to keep that clean sheet, although we didn't have the Spurs man Reguilon in defence, who got 9 points for the algorithm. So that didn't go too well as we went on to here. With our defence, we had Soufal, Cancelo and Pereira. And Pereira obviously was playing very well until he went off with an injury, bagged himself an assist. The algorithm had Luke Thomas in, who obviously only got 2 points, and had Reguilon, who did very well, and had Soufal as well. So Cancelo bagging a clean sheet was nice as well. Unfortunately, still yet to see an attacking return from him yet this season. In midfield, we had Son instead of Salah, which ended up not being too different at all. Obviously, gave us a bit more money to play with, which was nice, and scored a similar 10 points. Son was quite lucky to get that goal from the free kick, where Salah was also lucky to get one from a penalty. But that just proves to you why they are great FPL assets in the game. Son's obviously might have a bit of a knock this week, so something to keep an eye on. Don't take my word on having him in your team just quite yet. In terms of the other midfielders, we both had Benrahma and Greenwood me in the algorithm. Greenwood obviously paid off very well. I was quite close to not going with him, so I'm really glad I did. Benrahma and Rafinha obviously let me down quite a bit. Rafinha instead of Harvey Barnes, again, I was quite disappointed with. I didn't go with Barnes, who again blanked as well, similar to Rafinha. But with Rafinha playing Burnley, I was really hoping he could get something. But it was Corf Bamford who took the goal for Leeds in that game, in the 1-1 draw. And then up front, this was where the big differences was really made. Antonio and Kane were both similar. Both our teams had Antonio and Kane in. However, I took a bit of a punt and I went with Jamie Vardy up front instead of Danny Ings that the algorithm went with. Obviously, that Salah to Son move did allow me to do that as well. And as you can see, paid off massively with Vardy providing a pretty big 12 points. So on the whole, the main differences were obviously Schmeichel in goal for the algorithm, no clean sheet there. Reguilon did quite well, so 3 more points than Cancelo in that regard, but Pereira almost made up for that with him getting that assist. In terms of the midfield, exactly the same amount of points almost, and then up front, Vardy did the damage with Ings only gaining 4 points. So in total, I gained 63 points this week, and the algorithm gained 53. So I'm going to say we've picked up our first victory of the season. It is now 2-1 to the algorithm still. We had quite a few close scares in the last few weeks, so I'm glad that I finally I'm not being whitewashed at least this season. So yeah, I've got my confidence back now. The bench did, its job. It provided there. Didn't need to use any of it, which was fantastic news. And yeah, I've beaten the algorithm for the first time this season. I'm not sure how many more times I can see that happening again, but let's see if I can do it again this week in game week 4 as we show you not only the algorithm team, but then the team I've selected that I think might be able to beat it for game week 4. So, moving in to the drafts for this week, and 2-1 as we are down at the moment. I need to have another good week to try and equalise. Incoming first for the algorithm squad. Let's see who they've gone with in goal this week. It's going to be Raya of Brentford, which is a very interesting pick, actually. I'm not too sure I'd be going with that myself. Well, you'll be able to see in a few moments. But yeah, a Brighton at home fixture isn't too bad, I suppose. However, I wouldn't be backing Brentford to statistically keep going on and getting the great defensive statistics that they are currently on at the moment. I think they're second, actually, in terms of expected goals against. Second best, obviously. So second lowest in terms of expected goals against. And second highest, I think, in expected clean sheets. So it's very good statistics so far for Raya, of course. However, I'm just not sure Brentford can keep doing that. You might get some good save points as well. Brighton haven't looked the best attacking side, so maybe that's a very good reason to go with him. Another good reason, of course, will be that price point, 4.5, very cheap. Obviously, you could go with Ryan, in fact, who is on the opposite team. Go with him against Brentford. It doesn't look like too bad of a fixture this week, but those with Tony up front in their teams will be hoping not a clean sheet for Brighton this week. But yeah, let's move into the defence. I'm interested to see where all that value that Raya has been saving has helped build up. I've been quite a big fan of going with premium keepers this year. But the defence looks very interesting, holding Tierney. So a double Arsenal at the back, which I'm quite surprised about. With that Norwich home fixture, of course, it's very nice, and Norwich have been, nearly as poor as Arsenal themselves this season so far. And then Reguilon and Wan-Bissaka. So out of this defence, I really do like the look of Tierney. I think he's looked fantastic. I've done quite a bit of research on him. The perspective wildcard drafts, Semedo versus Tierney, both of course 4.9 price-wise. Reguilon, of course, now a bit higher at 5.2, but is still looking fantastic as Spurs maintain, again, a very solid defensive record so far this season. The other two picks I think are a bit more interesting and ones that I probably won't be going for myself. Wan-Bissaka, I think, has put in 5 crosses so far this season to Luke Shaw's 15, which would be a reason for me to favour the left back, especially with Ronaldo coming in and looking likely to play up front. Obviously, Ronaldo training today, meeting Ollie, everything. This is being recorded on Tuesday, so we've seen that at some point today. I'm hoping he'll be able to start now, and he'll probably end up being in this team as well, as we'll see in a minute. But then I'd like to go for Luke Shaw, because the thing is with Man United's crossing is that it tends to be from the left-hand side where Luke Shaw is dominant, as opposed to the right-hand side where Bruno kind of takes that role of crossing from kind of the inside right, which limits Wan-Bissaka's crossing potential as much, and he tends to be kind of getting a lot of his crosses are ones that come on the floor. Of course, Ronaldo can still score off the floor, but his attacking threat in the air is one of the big factors that I think he'll bring to the Premier League up against especially some of the weaker centre-backs. And, Newcastle, it is Lascelles, he's a physical player, but I still think Ronaldo can out-jump and out-head anyone really in the league, to be honest. Holding again is another one. The new Arsenal signing who's coming at 4.5 could potentially start, maybe. I'm not too sure about that. I will have to ask some Arsenal fans, but I wouldn't be taking too much of a risk on a 4.5 holding. In terms of any other better 4.5 options, I don't know, I'd maybe even go for Marcel if I needed someone that cheap, but I'm not sure I'll be going for someone who's that cheap or under. If I was going to go for one, maybe I'd go for Shane Duffy at Brighton, who is in my team as well, but I wouldn't want to double up, I don't think. Unfortunately, I'm having to do that in my own team this week, but I wouldn't be doing it in the dream team so far. But let's move into the midfield and see what they've gone with now. Salah, Fernandes, Pepe and Sarr. So our midfield 4 is going to be a 4-4-2 this week, which I don't think we've seen from the algorithm just quite yet. So yeah, the algorithm bringing out a new formation this week to try and retake their 2-goal lead, or 2-point lead, whatever we want to call what we're scoring. Salah's a very obvious one against Leeds, a very prime captaincy candidate. Fernandes obviously keeps his place, which is interesting. He wasn't in the algorithm team last week, I don't think, but obviously he's blanked the last 2 games. I don't think we've seen Bruno blank 3 games in a row for a very long time in the Premier League, or he had a very, very good spell last season where he hadn't blanked more than 2 games in a row, but he's obviously already done that this season. Against Newcastle, it's very hard to see a blank incoming for him, whether he's scoring or assisting with Ronaldo on or off the pitch, to be honest. Pepe's another interesting one, making up the Arsenal triple up for the algorithm 11. I'm not too sure I'd be sold on going with any Arsenal attackers, to be honest. I'd be tempted to maybe save a bit of cash and go with someone like a Smith Rowe if I was going for one of them. However, Pepe at 7.5, I just think there are better options. I think that Jota at 7.6 is a better pick. I think that maybe even Greenwood, even with Ronaldo coming in, he'll start either way with the Sancho injury. You'd have to think, whether that's up front or on the right wing, Greenwood's going to get minutes. You'd have to stay against a very poor Newcastle side. I know Norwich aren't a great team either, but Arsenal just haven't looked convincing. Maybe this can be the week where the algorithm gets something very, very right in terms of predictions, and Arsenal step their foot on the gas and start off with a big, big win for their first win of the season. And then Sarr, the talisman of Watford. Ismaila, of course, has been pretty good so far this season, and he is the main threat in that Watford front line. Him and Dennis seem to be the best ones to go for in terms of FPL assets. Of course, he hasn't really returned since that first game week where he bagged that 9-point haul against Aston Villa. And against the Wolves defence, you have to say have been quite tough and quite solid at the back so far this season, despite facing some tough teams. You'd have to wonder what's going to be the result of that game. Never mind, will Watford be able to grab a goal or 2 for Sarr to be involved in? But it's an interesting pick with the likes of Traore, Damari Gray also available and around a similar price point. Also Ben Rama, of course. But let's see who's up front. I imagine this will be Ronaldo and one other. Yeah, Ronaldo and Mikel Antonio. So no surprises there in terms of who the algorithm's gone for. Ronaldo, I think, with a projected 41 points over the next 5 game weeks, which is the highest by any player in a long, long time. You can see that in the wildcard draft I made. I had some very interesting stats in that video if you want to go and check it out. And then Mikel Antonio, of course, has had 3 double-point digit hauls already so far this season against the Southampton side that have lost a lot of their good defence and, have looked pretty decent going forward in terms of their defenders. Livermento's look nice, but I just only see West Ham scoring at least 1 goal in that game, and you'd have to put money on Mikel Antonio being involved in it. So the bench, let's have a look quickly. Steer, of course, will probably playing that game for Aston Villa against Chelsea, as Emi Martinez, of course, is not going to be available for that game, having been on international duty for Argentina. Brownhill, Dennis, and Tsimikas make up the rest of the bench. Brownhill is, a pretty solid 4.5 midfield option. Dennis, again, a very nice option to have off the bench if need be. Tsimikas is a strange one. I'm not sure why the algorithm's gone for him, given that he's not in the predicted lineup for Liverpool, and Robertson back. There's better options who are the same price or cheaper than Tsimikas in Duffy, Livramento, and Brandon Williams, all looking likely to start and perform better. Tsimikas will be getting 0 points off the bench, or maybe just the 1 point if he gets subbed on for Robertson, as he did a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, that rules out the algorithm team. Let's have a look at actually who the captains are for this week, because we haven't done that so far this season, but we're going to be introducing the captains so we can kind of compare our score to the average a bit more. Obviously, I'm hoping I score a bit more than the average every game because I'm getting to make unlimited transfers essentially, but it's Ronaldo and Salah who take the captaincy and vice-captain respectively. Yeah, Ronaldo's pretty much a no-brainer, isn't he? The only issue with that is really if Ronaldo comes off the bench and doesn't have enough time to make a proper impact. But I really don't think if he gets subbed off the bench, even he'll have like 5 minutes. I think Ronaldo will pretty much be deciding himself whether he's starting, and I think we all are pretty confident that decision will be for him to start the game at home in Old Trafford. And so Salah as a vice captain is a very nice option, even a prime candidate for captaincy, as I mentioned myself, and probably will be the captain in my team this week unless Ronaldo is brought into my actual personal side. So yeah, a very, very strong looking algorithm team, and let's see what I can come up with to try and take on this magnificent looking side. And now here is the team I've gone with to take on that algorithm 11 that you just saw for this game week, and hopefully try and equalise and make it 2-2. And as you can see, there are quite a few changes that you're probably already beginning to point out. Raya's gone from in goal, De Gea comes in against Newcastle, and I've gone with the United triple up, which doesn't involve Bruno. It's De Gea, Shaw, and Cristiano Ronaldo up front, who's managed to keep the captaincy. There was a bit of me that wanted to take it off him and go with someone else that you're probably seeing on screen right now. This is mainly because there's been a little bit of talk that perhaps Ronaldo will have his big unveiling as Varane had at United, then start the game on the bench, get his standing ovation as he comes on. This has mainly been coming from the Sun, so as it's the Sun. Take it with a very big pinch of salt for that matter, although Sky Sports, did retweet it, etc. Looking at the source, it is the Sun, so yeah, there's not too much to worry about there, and he does, of course, train today, as already mentioned in the video. So he keeps the captaincy for now. Lukaku is the other candidate who I'm looking at alongside Salah, playing against a Villa without their first choice goalkeeper, who even with their first choice goalkeeper conceded 3 goals in the first week of the season. Seems like it could be too good to pass up on. Obviously a lovely home fixture as well. Antonio keeps his place in the front line, but in come a few different midfielders. Sarr retains his spot as Watford's talisman in that Wolves game, which I've still gone for. I was really between him and Traore, but Sarr just pipped it for me. But Demarai Gray did find his way into the team with that Burnley fixture. Didn't want to go for Calvert-Lewin. I just think his knock, and there's other striking options that are a bit more nailed on. Lukaku could have a bit of an injury too, but I think he'll be playing through that, to be honest, even if he does have one. Gray keeps his spot. Jota's there as well, who I did say I really wanted to bring in. I did want to find the money for Trent, but unfortunately I just couldn't get it with all the other kind of big premium players, the big premium 3 in Salah, Ronaldo, Lukaku, that I wanted, as well as quite a few mid-price in Jota, Antonio, the likes of these guys. And then in defence, we've kept Tierney, and we've gone with Duffy instead of Reguilon. So I would like to afford someone like a Reguilon or like a Semedo. With my team value, I actually can. However, I'm just playing it with 100 million as the algorithm is. So yeah, obviously bear in mind with your team value, you may be able to afford a slightly stronger squad than this, but I've had to limit myself based on what I have available for my resources with no team value gained so far in this series. Well, we're not going to gain any value over the whole season, so it's going to make it harder and harder as the best players become higher and higher price, you'd have to imagine. Even higher than some of them are with Ronaldo, Lukaku and Salah like that. But Steer, yeah, keeps his spot on the bench. I've gone with Sissoko instead of Brownhill as my first substitute. I think he looked pretty good, and I'd be happy to have him come on and double up with Sarr, to be honest. And then there's Livramento and Williams, again, just sat on the bench. Hopefully I will not need to use them. You know, very slim chance that they'll come onto the pitch, but you never know. You never know. Someone like a Duffy could end up not playing. Lukaku could be out through injury. I think Ronaldo will get minutes either way, but I can only see two of the players in my team add a very, very big push, not actually missing out this week. So yeah, I'm going to stick with that. A lot of hopes on the Manchester United clean sheet, obviously. I'm expecting Reguilon to do quite well, but I'm hoping I'll be able to cover that through other points, through people like Jota, who will be playing up front in place of Roberto Firmino, who's out through injury, and Demarai Gray. Hopefully it will be aided if Calvert-Lewin gets a return anyway. And so yeah, I'm really hopeful, and I'm thinking I might be able to take the victory this week, guys. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Who's going to win, Team Algorithm or Team Eddie? Who's going to take the big fat W for game week 4, and can I make it 2-2 in the series? But thank you for watching. If you're new around here, make sure to remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video as well, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the new and returning FPL price change series, which is back tomorrow, and there's been a lot of news that we're waiting to catch up on. You can get your daily dose of all that content, know the latest rises and fallers in the world of FPL. As well as that, you can do loads of other things. You can subscribe to my channel if you like. The link is in the description for there if you want to see a bit more of me and a bit more of my own FPL content over on that channel. You can subscribe to all the other guys we've got presenting on the channel too. But we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching Eddie versus the Algorithm, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully, next time I'm seeing you with this series, I'll be winning, and yeah, we'll be outscoring the Algorithm for the second week running. Thank you for watching, everyone. Goodbye.